This is a perfect time of the year for taking cuttings of all sorts of shrubs in the garden, deciduous shrubs and evergreen shrubs. And they're what we call semi-hardwood or semi-ripe cuttings. And that's the difference between when they're really soft and sappy in early summer on that new growth, and then in the winter when the leaves have fallen off and they go really woody. So this is that in-between stage. And if you see the branch there, you can see it's not really soft and sappy now. It's got some firmness to it. So these make really good cuttings and they root fairly easily. So what I'm going to do is take a selection from the garden of all sorts of shrubs, and then we're going to prepare them and get them to root so we've got lots of new plants for next year. So all I'm going to do is cut some lengths off about 3 or 4 inches long, just cutting them off above a bud so we don't get a dieback there. That will grow next year and this will make our cutting. So I'm going to keep myself busy for a couple of minutes just whizzing around the garden getting some cuttings. So to prepare the cuttings is really simple. Now you can either use a very sharp knife to do it or a pair of secateurs. Depends on the material we're trimming. It can sometimes get a little bit woody. If you feel that it's a little bit too hard to cut with a knife, then use a pair of secateurs. And I've cut it below a leaf joint and I'm removing the leaves, and I want to cut in no longer than that. In fact, I'm actually going to make that one just a little bit shorter because sometimes shorter cuttings root better than big cuttings. This one is a Hebe. It's still got a few old flowers on, so we just cut it below a leaf joint, and then we're going to remove any flowers, and we're also going to remove the leaves, just leaving a few at the top. We don't want to leave too many leaves on there. And then we can insert them. So that's our cuttings prepared. Just going back to this one, this is a Deutzia, and it's got quite a large pair of leaves at the top. So what I'm going to do with that one is just reduce the leaf area so that it doesn't wilt, and that prevents it from drooping when we put it in. So now we've got our cuttings prepared. If I can find my little dibber, I'm going to put them in a cell tray, a plastic cell tray that I've reused lots of times. It's a compost and perlite mix to get good drainage, and then I'm going to make a hole and just push them down. I'm not using any rooting compounds at all. These should root perfectly well without. So push them into the compost, little dibber, push that in and firm it in. And then we can put the Physocarpus, this lovely purple one, in, prepared in exactly the same way. Just push them in so that they're firm but not compacted, and then we can put this little Hebe Sapphire. This is a lovely compact Hebe, grows to about 2 feet tall, and it flowers and flowers and flowers with lilac coloured flowers all through the summer. And then lastly we're going to put in Senecio Sunshine, now called Brachyglottis, but I still call it Senecio. And then what we need to do with those when we've got them all in is to give them a drink. It's important that we work fairly quickly so they don't wilt. So I'm just going to hold it there. We want the water to settle the cuttings in so the compost is nice and moist. That's really important because they will drink that up like a cut flower. And then we've got to put them somewhere fairly cool and shady. We certainly don't want them in the direct sun. Even at this time of the year, it can get quite hot, especially in a greenhouse. So somewhere shady, maybe one of these little cloches over the top just to keep the moisture in there, and piece of newspaper, and then that is it. If you have got a propagator, that's even better, but you don't need a lot of heat at this time of the year. We want to keep the tops cool so they don't wilt. And what you can do every day or so, take that off, give them a mist so it creates lovely humid conditions, and they will take a while to root. They're going to take probably a couple of months to root, so you've got to be patient, but at this time of the year they do tend to work, and we'll get lovely rooted plug plants that we can pot up next year.